Morning everyone, this is my watch list for Thursday, March 19th. So I'm going to start with the indices and then move on to some individual equities. All right, so if you notice yesterday, pre-market is when SPY started to sell. We had a hot PPI, right? 0.7 versus 0.3 forecast, as well as an escalation in the war between Iran, the US, and Israel, right? So that's why the market started selling pre-market. And then we also had the FOMC rate announcement followed by Fed comments, Powell comments in the afternoon at 2 o'clock. And the market continued selling the entire afternoon. Now, where are we on the market? SPY is gapping down, right? SPY is gapping down just a bit. And yesterday was a heavy sell day, all right? Now, where's my level today? It's 662, right? This is the level we bounced off of on Monday, March 9th. We bounced off here Friday. And now we are a bit below that at 659, right? So 662, we stay below this, then I believe we have a bearish day. If we reclaim 662, then we could potentially squeeze back into the previous day range, okay? Now, we're not completely out of the woods on SPY. I want you guys to notice something. If we pull up ES, right? ES is still not below demand, right? ES has big demand on the 4 hour. Right here, it's 63, all right, 66.33. We bounced here, right? This is a big level back here from July, right? So ES technically has not broken that demand yet. And you can see that on the daily as well. And I do have this chart adjusted for the future contract change, okay? So we're technically not out of the woods yet on SPY. And we want to see how we react to this off the open. If it's actually going to be an intensive sell day, or do they hold this demand and we rip back into previous day range? All right, let's see what happens on SPY. All right, but 662 is my level here for the upside or potential rejects, right? And then for the downside, you know, if we start getting a sell day, then we could potentially make a move. You know, when we break that ES level, we could potentially make a move into some of these older demands, right? 655 and then 650, right? These are big previous demands from last year, okay? That the market could potentially sell into if we continue selling today, okay? Now, QQQ, same thing, right? We're not out of the woods. We did have a big sell day yesterday, but we're not out of the woods. We're opening right into demand. And you can see this chart, guys. 592 is big demand, right? We have another area down here from Friday, February 6th, as well as, you know, March 6th, okay? So we bounced here at 588, we bounced here at 589. The Qs are selling, but they're still in demand, right? We're still in big areas of demand here. And the question is, you know, are we going to get that continuation, or is there going to be a bounce today? And you can see that on the NQ chart as well, right? NQ, we are here at this 24,500 level. If we get below 24,500, right, then we could sell into that 24,200, which was the bounce area in the overnight session from Sunday, March 26th, all right? So you see this here. We are at demand. We're currently at demand. Do we hold this demand, or do we sell into that previous area from Monday, March 9th, right? So that's my watch for the SPY and QQQ today, okay? We hold demand and rip, or do we continue selling? That's what we'll have to wait and see off the open, right? Now let's look at some individuals. We'll start with Apple, right? So Apple bounced at this 249 yesterday in the late afternoon and after hours. And it also bounced this 249 back on Friday, okay? So I was looking at, if Apple breaks below 249, where could we sell into, right? If we break below 249, we can sell into 245, right? 244 to 245. This was our previous demand back here from January and back here from October, all right? So this is one of my watches today. If Apple loses 249, we're gonna sell back into 244 to 245, all right? And this is also if the market sells, okay? I'll flip bias. If market doesn't sell and we're holding those demands, when the market starts ripping, I'm not going to be looking for shorts under lows, because those could just be traps, right? AMD is another name that has been kind of choppy all over the place, right? but we do have this 195 level. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but I've traded a lot off of 195, all right? And it bounced again yesterday off of that same level. So if 195 breaks below, then we could sell back into this Friday session low at 192, all right? And then if 192 breaks, we could sell all the way back into this prior demand over here from Monday, Tuesday, Friday, okay? 188, right? So 195 breaks, we go to 192. 192 breaks, we go to 188. That's something I'll be watching today on AMD, right? Amazon, we look at the daily chart. This is very interesting, okay? So Amazon, big sell, right? Big selling, and then we popped after earnings. We filled the gap. You guys remember, we talked about this. The gap fell over 212 to 220, right? We gave the 220 price target, rejected, all right? Now, what do we see here? Is this a potential flag, right? This is like pretty intensive selling here, early Feb. And then is this creating a bear flag? It very well possibly could be creating a bear flag, right? For a move lower back into the 190s. I mean, maybe even lower, right? If market starts selling heavy, we could go retest these areas of demand back here from the tariff lows, 170, 160, all right? So I am watching Amazon today. You know, if we clear this bear flag and start selling, my level, I don't know if you guys remember, was 207, right? 207, these lows from Monday the 9th, also these lows from Friday the 13th, right? So if we start selling below 207, then I believe it's gonna go all the way back to 202, right? These areas, and then back into the 190s, which is the low from earnings, okay? This is very, very possible today. This is something I'm definitely watching, okay? Google, I'm not watching anything. Meta, you know, I probably won't trade this today, but I'll just give you guys the level. It's 610, right? 610, this is the low from Friday the 13th. And if we break below 610, again, you'll kind of see the structure here. It was a bit of a trend, and now it's starting to break that trend, right? We're breaking down below the daily trend. If we lose 610, we go and we test this area from January 21st, right? Back at 600. So potential $10 move there on Meta if we actually break and lose that 610, okay? Microsoft, I'm not watching anything. Netflix, I want to talk a little bit about this. So Netflix has been very strong against the market, right? You'll see this. We took a swing on this, remember, at 75 and it ripped to 100. This was crazy. But Netflix has been strong against the market. So what can we watch here? You know, if it holds, okay? Netflix, if it holds and is still remaining strong against the market, we can look for a bit of a breakout here, right? We can look for a breakout trade. You know, if we break this bit of a trend line back to the upside, I think we can see over 100. And what is the level? It's 96, right? It's 96. If we break above 96, we'll be breaking out of this trend and can potentially go all the way back to 100, right? So this is something to keep on tap. You know, I'm not, it's been chopping for like a week, right? March 12th to today, it's been chopping. But once this does happen, if it does happen, right? Everything's just a hypothesis. But if it does happen, we reclaim 96, I think we go back to 100. And this time, if we get to 100, I think we actually break 100, all right? Nvidia, let's look at Nvidia. So Nvidia, remember, we've been talking about this chart for so long, okay? We've been watching the 186 and we've been watching the 180. It's been chopping around for a month within this area, right? And it looks like today it's actually starting to break below, okay? So we're breaking below 180. Now, what can we do here with this chart? You know, obviously it depends where we open. You know, if Nvidia opens at demand at 175 or 176, this zone down here, then I'll no longer really be interested in trading this because it had already made the move in the pre-market session. However, if we stay around where we are right now and we pop up into the 180, 181, which was the previous day, you know, this was the session low from Wednesday, not including this little area down here in the after hour. This was like the last 10, 15 minutes in the market. But I would say this area from 180 to 180.70, we can look for failures there. to continue this short on Nvidia. So popping failures on Nvidia into this previous demand that we've been talking about, this range, right? This range between 180 and 186. If we get the pop back into 180 to 180.70, then we can look for shorts on Nvidia today. All right. PLTR, last but not least. So PLTR, remember this bull flag I talked about, right? Bull flag on PLTR. So it broke out. This was on Tuesday. We caught a really nice trade on Tuesday. This trade did like 40%, right? And then yesterday, it tried to do the continuation of the bull flag, right? And continue higher. And it wound up failing. Now, luckily, not luckily, I was watching the contracts and they weren't moving. So I got out at break even because I saw the contracts weren't moving. And guys, this is a sign, all right? If you're in a trade, I got in around 156.20 and it went to 156.70, all right? So it made a 50-cent move and the contracts moved $10, all right? If you're in a trade and this happens, it's better to just sell, at least reduce exposure, right? Sell half your position, sell 80% of your position because that's not normal, right? That's not normal. And what that's telling me is there's a lot of aggressive sellers coming in because if my contracts aren't moving, that means people are slamming the bid, right? If people are slamming the bid or short sellers are starting to attack, that means you want to get out of that long, right? And we fortunately got out at the exact perfect moment because this thing completely reversed, all right? Now, what I will be watching today, though, is if we reclaim this level. Now, it's a long shot from here, right? We're all the way back down to 152. But if PLTR starts reclaiming levels, I mean, we're technically just retesting the flag here, right? And I can redraw it on the 5-minute. But we're technically just retesting this flag. And if this reclaims 156 today, that's when we can say, okay, yes, this bull flag is actually going to work, right? Because now we can break above 156 and we can go retest this high from Friday at 161.50, right? So it's something I'll be watching today. Not really a top watch, but it is, keep it on my radar, okay? But that's my watch list for Thursday, March 19th. Thanks, guys.